Welcome back to the GreenLight Investor for the week ending April 22nd, 2016. Our goal at the GreenLight Investor is to provide a resource to help make managing the fund choices in your 401k both a simple and easy process. We do this with a simple worksheet that uses red, green, and yellow cells to help you decide when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell. This presentation is for information and educational purposes only and should not be taken as personal investment advice. The examples shown will be exactly that. They'll be examples of how you can use this worksheet as an additional resource to help you manage the fund choices within your 401k plan. Always refer to your own investment policy to make certain that the choices you make are appropriate for both your investment time horizon as well as your understanding and acceptance for taking on risk in financial markets. With that said, let's go ahead and go right into our worksheet. We'll update this worksheet. In the top left corner, you'll see my contact information if you have any questions or would like any additional information. We also have an asset allocation questionnaire that can help you make some sense out of allocating assets based on your investment time horizon as well as your ability to take on risk. On the left side of the worksheet, we have the investment choices available to you. And at the top of each of the columns, we have the headings that include the fund number, the symbol, the fund name, and a brief description of the fund. As we go down, we'll see the core investments, which include all of the index funds with 2 bond funds and 2 stock funds that give you generally a wide exposure to different aspects of the stock and bond markets. As we scroll down, we go into the satellite investments, and those let you focus in a little bit more keenly on different investments you may want additional exposure to. They generally start out with the more conservative at the top, which are fixed income funds, go into a blend of U.S. growth and income funds, U.S. equity funds, then you'll break down into the international funds, and finally the sector funds will be at the bottom of the list. In the center of the worksheet, we have the performance data for 2016, and this will include the closing price, the month-to-date, quarter-to-date, and year-to-date return. The reason this is important is so you can track and see which funds are actually moving in the markets, and you can compare how your allocation is compared to the different funds available to you in these different categories. And finally, we have what I think is the more unique section of this worksheet. It's called the current weekly trends. Here we'll track the week-over-week trends to show you which funds are performing the best. The funds that have the bright green cell highlighted will be the stronger ones, and the red cells are the ones that have performed on a relative basis the weakest. Columns W and to the right will show the relative strength trend scores for the week. That's a numerical value. When it's above 1, it's going to give you a green light. When it's below 1, it'll give you a red light. Here you have a negative 2.38. Here you have a 0.53, and it's going back down to a 0.02. This yellow dot in here shows that it may be transitioning back from a green cell to either a red or just pausing. When you see the green check mark in the corner, that means it's a confirmed signal, and when you see a red X in the corners, that means it's a confirmed negative signal. As we scroll down, we can see that you have a mixture of red and green, but it seems as if the markets are trying to turn green. But in looking at that, one of the things that's interesting is you'll see that the relative strength trend scores are all weakening. So to me, that's an indication that markets may be taking a bit of a pause here after this run-up they've had. This is similar for most of the different categories. Here we're seeing a week over week where generally we're seeing the relative strength score slightly less than the previous week. So that again indicates that you may be seeing a little bit of a top or a pause in this market. Here we've seen a strong move from bright red or all red to basically a good solid green foundation trying to form. Over the next couple weeks, we'll see if this is able to sustain and if we can start to see some strengthening in these numbers. But as above, we're seeing that right now on a week-over-week basis, we're generally seeing the numbers a little bit lower than the previous week, which to me indicates that it's a good time to pause and see where this market goes. Finally, as we go down, we'll see the same situation. We've gone from a very, very red negative situation to a mixture of green and red. So a lot of strength building, for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and finally we're starting to see where the strength is starting to stabilize. So we'll see if this can resume or if it does have some kind of a pullback. Only time will tell on that. And finally, in the sector funds at the bottom, very similar story. You've seen a bright red, a lot of negative numbers, and they've finally been able to manage in the last couple of weeks to turn positive. So we'll see how this market develops over time. Right now, we're saying that the U.S. market has a bull market alert, which means that you could proceed into a sustainable rally. And I think this brief pause will give us a few weeks to see if the market has the strength to continue moving higher, or whether it takes a pause and maybe even pulls back a little bit after this recent run-up. In the international markets, we're seeing that there's a bear market rally. So we've seen a little bit of strength off of the bottom, and we'll see again in the next few weeks if this is able to continue. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look and see how we can use this information to make choices within your 401k plan. If we go to View, Custom Views, and My Current Allocation, and click Show, we'll have an allocation format for this spreadsheet. If you want to do a retirement planner, a one-click retirement planner, I've put a link here. Gives you a real easy snapshot so you can see how you're doing in the long term with your retirement planning. Here we have the allocations down column H. Remember, this is just a worksheet. You'll have to put these numbers in manually to make actual changes that will affect your 401k. You'll have to go to your company website, make the changes there, and then once the changes are emailed back to you, then go ahead and put the allocations into this worksheet. Then when you slide the slider over, you can get a quick snapshot and see if there's any changes needed. We currently have 100% allocation, and we'd like to have 5% in the index or 10% in the index funds. We currently do have 10%, and it's spread out between a bond and an equity fund. Both have at least 2 green lights to the right and are either neutral or bullish, so no change there, so there's no changes needed to be made. Last week we made a few adjustments in the hypothetical portfolio. So with that said, we're 30% invested in the money market, looking for a chance to reallocate that into strength as the market continues to develop, if it does. We have a current allocation of fixed income at 10%. We're neutral with several green lights to the right, so that's been all right, but we see that that has a bright red light, so that's showing that was one of the weaker funds over this week, and we're also seeing that the numerical value is weakening, so that may be a caution, and if we see strength in another area, we could either elect to take money out or know that this is at least taking a pause. Our U.S. growth and income funds, we'd like to have 10%. We currently do. And again, in this fund, we have 2 green lights and a green light to the left, so that's a bullish. The left side of column W shows the long-term trend, and it's always important to pay attention to that one. Likewise, down here we have 4 green lights and a green light to the left, so there's no changes needed here. Our U.S. equities, we'd like to have 25%. We currently have 20%. We have 10% with green lights. We're also seeing the same situation where we've had a nice run-up, and now we're seeing the value, the numerical value, stabilize. But we still do have the green lights, so we'll stay invested in this. No changes are needed. We also have a 10% allocation here, and here we have 3 green lights and a green light to the left, so we'll maintain that allocation. No changes needed. Here we have a 20% allocation. We're just starting to see some changes. We have 2 green lights and a green light to the left, so that one is a fund we could purchase. And we're also seeing 2 green lights with a bullish sign. So these would be the 2 funds with the numerical values going down. my preference would be not to allocate yet, but we'd like to see the next week where it can actually continue to show that those values can increase. So we'll wait a week, and if those do increase, we'll be making an allocation uh, to the international funds. We'd like to have 20%. We currently have 0, and this is the first week where where we have the availability to purchase. But we will wait. And again, the reason is because we're seeing the lower numerical values. But an aggressive investor could make at least a portion of an allocation to this fund. And finally, we have a 20% allocation. We have 10% and 10% between two funds. These two also are the weakest for the current week. So we've had a nice run, but we are showing that it may be coming to the end of its run. So we'll watch this. If we see another week where this declines, we may just pull the profits over and go back to the money market and look for the next time the market starts to show some strength. So with that said, there's no real changes needed this week. We'll keep looking for opportunities to put the last 30% to work. But if the market weakens, we'll be adding to that, and we'll have a higher percentage in cash for the week. So that's a simple example of how you use this worksheet to make choices and use this as an additional research tool. Let's go back to our custom views. We'll go to With Performance columns, click Show, and that'll take us back to our main page. That's what I've got for this week. I hope it's been helpful and gives you some ideas and resources to help you manage the choices within your 401k. Again, if you'd like to find out how you can use this, you can email me or go to the website and we'll have more examples. And I can also put you on the mailing list if you'd like a copy of this worksheet sent to you each week as it's updated. Or you can go to the website and just download a copy and see how you can use it. Again, my information's here if there's any questions. I want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your weekend to try to make sense out of your 401k investment choices. I hope you have a great week ahead, and thanks again for taking a few minutes out of your weekend to watch this.